I went to bed last night with a little bit of kind of malaise, just kind of ready for the day to be over and to go to bed. And woke up this morning early, was excited to start my day, and like I do normally on most mornings before breakfast, I looked at the news to see what's going on in the world and read. And as I was reading through news articles this morning and thinking of COVID-19 and the number of people that have died over these last weeks, read an article about that, and then read an article about a small business that is being shut down because they've gone bankrupt in the midst of this. And then, of course, I read about the riots last night that occurred in Minneapolis and in LA. And I took a few moments to watch the George Floyd video, a new video this morning, and absolutely gut-wrenching and turns my stomach. And then was thinking about all of this and all of this happening before 7 o'clock in the morning, 6:30 or so. I was already in grief before I'd started my day. The Christian life gives us a place to go with that grief. We're unlike the world in this. You think about the Psalms, the great hymn book of the Scriptures, and it depends on who you ask, but anywhere between a fourth to a third of the Psalms are what we call Psalms of Lament. We as Christians don't just have this recourse of crying or grieving. We can do those things. But we have something even better than the world has. We have lament. And that is that we have where we can be affected by these things and we can grieve the loss of not being able to gather together as a church family, grieve different injustices that are happening in our world, grieve the pettiness in politics, grieve the death of people around us, grieve sickness, grieve loss as we experience it. And yet our grief can be turned upward. So we have the ability to have true sorrow within and truly give voice to it with our mouth, and yet have the recourse of lifting our eyes to heaven. And so as a Christian grieves, we can lament, we can give true voice to our grief, and yet also lift our eyes at the same time in hope to God and receive comfort. And that stops us from acting outward with malice and hatred and despair. Just to give you an idea, Psalm 62 this morning, one of my favorite Psalms of Lament. David is writing this, and he says this. He says, "How long will all of you attack a man to batter him like a leaning wall, a tottering fence? They only plan to thrust him down from his high position. They take pleasure in falsehood. They bless with their mouths, but inwardly they curse." And how many of us have felt like that? Just like a tottering fence. If just one more push, one more awful thing happens in our little world, we feel like we're just going to topple over. Can't bear one more thing, Lord. But he takes that, and he takes it to the Lord. "For God alone, O my soul, wait in silence, for my hope is from him. He only is my rock and my salvation, my fortress, I shall not be shaken. On God rests my salvation and my glory, my mighty rock, my refuge is God. Trust in him at all times, O people. Pour out your heart before him. God is a refuge for us. Selah." He has that grief. He gives voice to it. He isn't denying it. And he is absolutely weeping and crying out. And he does so looking to God. And there he finds a measure of comfort, even as he continues to experience that grief. Lament has a real place in the Christian's life. It's something we need to revive. It's something we need to embrace. And it's something I think even in these days we need to live.